Hello, welcome to the Exitable Business Podcast, where we discuss how to create enterprise value all of the time, how to double and triple the value of your business now, not just when it's time to sell or when you get an offer. This is Patrick Rogers, and I'm super excited. This is episode number 13, and today we have the privilege to have Jared Pope on the show. And Jared is the CEO of WorkShield. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Oh, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome. So a little bit about Jared. Jared is the CEO and founder of WorkShield. Jared grew up as a Texas cowboy, became a horned frog at TCU, and then rode a Mustang SMU law into the legal profession. After riding the great plains of legal experience at two nationally recognized law firms and general counsel of some mid-sized insurance brokerage company, he hung his own shingle, specializing in HR, ERISA, and benefits for the past 18 years, and has started several other companies as well. As an entrepreneur, HR specialist, and innovator, WorkShield grew from an idea of how employers handle workplace misconduct issues to an innovator covering over 100,000 employee lives, and really disrupting the whole field of HR technology and culture issues and how they're handled by large and small companies across the USA. WorkShield was actually just recently honored as one of Fast Company's 2022 World Changing Ideas Award in the workplace category. So congrats on that. And a little bit about on the personal side of Jared, when he's not providing simplified business solutions, he spends time with his wife and family cooking in the kitchen, watching his two kiddos play various sports, and it can be found on the golf course with friends. How did I do, man?
That's a good summary. So
there you go.
Well said.
Awesome. Well, hey, Jared. So, one of the icebreaker things I have for everybody that comes on the show is what's one interesting fact that maybe, not many people know about you?
Well, it's an interesting one. I used to sell books door to door for 3 summers when I was in college, and I loved every minute of it. So it was a fun time.
Wow, that's a pretty interesting skill set, going door to door sales, and you loved every minute of it. What did you love about it?
Well, what's interesting is it set the foundation for everything else that I'm doing today. And so I love the fact that I'm 19 years old, in college, just got finished with my freshman year at TCU, and had this opportunity to really go out, run my own business, which I didn't know at the time I was running my own business.
Right,
it just kind of was like, okay, let me go do this.
Sure.
And went to a different state, went to sales school, learned the process for a week, went underground is the way they called it. And then knocked on doors to not only find the house that I was going to live in for the whole summer, but then, sold books and knocked on doors. But it taught me, wake up early every day, control what you can't control, don't worry about the things you can't. And if you just keep your head down and focus, you should end up being better than average.
Wow. I love that. And so it sounds like you were able to excel in this position.
Yeah, I had a fun time. So my first summer, and the funny story is, so I'm a twin, so that may be the second thing that's unique. And we're a lot like Schwarzenegger and DeVito from the movie Twins.
Okay.
on a good day with boots on, the sun shining correctly, I'm about 5'10". Okay. And my twin is about 6'3" or 6'4". So
wow.
It's a little bit different. But what was interesting is the very first summer when I got the call, I was at TCU, and this guy named Alex called me, and he said, "Hey, I have this opportunity." And here he is trying to say, "I want to interview you for this job to go sweat in the summer, carry a 40-pound book bag, go knock on doors." And here I am looking back, I'm trying to sell him on why he needs to pick me, right, to go do this. And so I leave the interview, and I call my mother and say, "Hey, Mom, I found my summer job." And she's like, "Oh, this is fantastic. What are you going to do?" And I say, "I'm going to go sell books, and I'm going to make a lot of money." And she goes, "Wait, what are you going to do? And I said, well, there's this company called the Southwestern Company. I'm going to go sell books with them and I'm going to have a lot of fun. I know I'm better than average. And the average person brings home a check for like $6,800 at the end of the summer, which was a lot of money. This was back in 1996, 97.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And she goes, oh, well, your brother just called and said that he interviewed with somebody 2 days ago. And he said it was all a scam and you're not going to make any money at all. And it's a company called the Southwestern Company.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't care. I'm going to do it. And so that very first summer, my twin and I had a bet. So he didn't do it. Okay. He was a bank teller.
Yeah.
I went out to sell books. And so we had a bet. And I said, I bet you I make more money than you during the summer. And whoever loses has to buy the other one a steak dinner every month.
That's awesome. Uh-huh.
Okay. And so fast forward, I go to sales school. I go find my house that I'm living in. I'm still friends with the family today that I lived with. And the first week I had a girlfriend at the time. And the very first week I didn't make any sales. And I'm in a town called Russellville, Arkansas. Right. Uh-huh. And I realized my girlfriend keeps calling me. So I finally just say, you know what? I break up. Don't call me. I will call you at the end of the summer. Literally the next day I go out, sell some books. And then I figured it out. I just got to take the distractions away. And so the whole summer, my twins asking me, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? My mom's like, do you want us to send you some money? And I'm like, and I'm making some money, some really good money. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you know what? It's okay. It's not really about the money. It's about what I'm learning individually and, playing it up. Right. At the end of the summer, I get home. My twin brother's like, hey, how much money did you make? And I'm like, Zach, it's really not about how much money I made. Man,
you're still downplaying it. Look at you, man.
I'm downplaying the whole process.
Yeah.
And he goes, what'd you make? So I slid over my check that I got at the end of the summer. And it was north of $10,000.
Wow.
And he looked at it and he goes, I'm selling books next summer. And so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I did okay. I think I was number 18 out of 3,000 out of first year salespeople. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, it sounds like it was. And the fact that you got a steak dinner every month was icing on the cake. Yeah, very cool.
Well, the best part of that is Zach went double or nothing. He goes, I bet you I beat you on my first summer. And now remember, this is a role reversal. So my twin brother, bigger, stronger, kind of the one that is leading the charge. Now it's a role reversal where not the younger, but the smaller one is now telling the bigger one, hey, you're doing this incorrectly. You need to focus on this. But he goes, double or nothing. I'm going to beat what your check was, or I'm going to get a higher place than you in all the first years. And I said, you're on. And sure enough, he gets like number 11 out of like 3,900.
Oh, and he went at it.
Oh yeah, and he got a check for like $18,000 or $19,000 out of the first summer, which I was happy because I made money on it. So I was like, yeah, I'll buy you 2 steak dinners every month.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, what a story. That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. That's really cool. Yeah. So if you would, Jared, also bring us up to speed a little bit about your journey. Kind of what led you to where you are today.
Well, it kind of all started back from selling books. It was at TCU and went to law school at SMU, met my wife there, who's my co-founder at WorkShield, and, practiced law, went into kind of a non-traditional way. I was really good at tax and kind of the codes and how do you read the rules and the regs. And so started out at a place called KPMG. I was in their finance place or benefits practice and got engaged. And the 2 days after I got engaged, found out that KPMG was dissolving our whole practice. And so went to my fiance at the time and said, hey, I have a great opportunity. And she goes, oh, this is fantastic. And I was like, yeah, can we talk about it tonight? And so fast forward, I go over to her house, we open up a bottle of wine and she's like, what's this great opportunity? And I said, well, just drink some more. I don't want you to change your answer. And so we sit down and we have this dinner, and she goes, "What's the great opportunity?" And I said, "Well, look, I got 6 months to find a new job, but it's a great opportunity. Please don't say no." And she looks at me and she goes, "How is this a great opportunity?" And I said, "Look, if I control what I can control, I'm going to end up in a better position than I am today. I just have to focus on what I can control." Well, then 2 months later, I end up working at Baker Botts, tripled my salary at the time that I was making, had a lot of experience. And then fast forward, worked for a company or a firm called Fulbright right when the recession hit. And so another great opportunity arose from that standpoint with the economic recession, and then became general counsel of a company, and got the bug that kept eating at me of, why am I working for other companies, making them a lot of money versus doing something myself that I can't control and maybe provide wealth and a good lifestyle for my kids, for my wife, and create, maybe not necessarily this lifelong legacy for people to know me by, but at least a very humble and worthwhile living that my kids could be proud of, my wife could be proud of, and I'm proud of. And so from there, left to be a general counsel, hung my own shingle to do my own law firm. And within 3 months, hired 4 other attorneys because I had so much work. And so just started going, and then got the entrepreneurial bug and started a few other companies, and until 2018 when we launched WorkShield.
Okay. So it's been about 4 years now in WorkShield, and man, you just been growing leaps and bounds. Didn't you say like 200, over 200% in the last year or something?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate this year. So from January or December 31st to today, we've already grown about 160%. We'll reach 200% growth in revenue by the end of the year on a conservative basis. And so just been very fortunate, and count our blessings that we've got the right systems and process in place that allow us to scale at such a high volume.
Yeah. So I'd love to dive into that a little bit more. Do you think those processes and systems has been one of the keys to your success and ability to successfully scale?
Yeah, I think so. Or actually, I know so. My wife, who's absolutely smarter than I am.
Smart man. I'm sure she'll be hearing this at some point. So
yeah. She's a reader. I'm a Cliff Notes guy. So I like to read the Cliff Notes. If I really get into it, I'm going to read as well, or I'll listen to podcasts. And so, there's this book called Atomic Habits, and it hit early on. And Jennifer was talking to me about, hey, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And very early on, when we started hitting some early growth, some big clients that were coming on, she made it very important to, from a client success side, we have to have the right process and system in place if we're going to manage those clients effectively. And we determined early on that, a lot of people are really good at sales. They can bring in deals left and right, but they're not really good at the back door.
No,
meaning shut the back door, keep them in the house, and do everything you can.
Right. The customer relationship fulfillment. Yeah.
That's right. And so we made a goal that, hey, if we can do this and have a retention above 98%, I think we're going to be really good. And so let's focus on retaining the clients once we get them. How do we service them? And so she really built the first process of WorkShield and the system in place. And then we've just copied that into the sales model, the technology model, and even the finance model as well.
So when you say process, what does that mean to you?
Scalability.
I guess, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, the process what's the process in place today? It may work today, but is it going to work when you have 100 customers coming on each month? When you have 20,000 lives coming on in a quarter or 30,000 lives coming on in a quarter. What's going to happen when you have 30,000 lives a month coming on? And so is the process that you're doing today, it may work today, but how do you make it more efficient, more effective, more scalable to where it's a repeatable process, a repeatable system that you know works? And you know what? If you try something new and it doesn't work, iterate. Find out what happens, change, adapt, and make it work for not only today, but for the future as well. So when I think of process, that's what I think about today. And where we are in our journey is, you often hear the phrase, hey, sales can kill a company.
It can, if you get too big for your britches without scalability. Sure.
That's right. And I know we have a great platform. I know we have a great tool, a great product. And I didn't want to be one of those numbers to where they became so successful so quick that they ended up killing themselves because they couldn't scale.
Yeah.
And that's where our focus was and still is it's constant iterations of what's our process, what's our system, how do we make it better?
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of people will call that the clock builder versus the time teller, right? Constantly, having all of your employees look for ways to improve. And it sounds like you guys are doing that.
Yeah, like we make mistakes like any company, right? But we often say, and I'm a big proponent of this, is you have the permission to fail, but the obligation to learn.
Oh, I love that. Permission to fail, but obligation to learn. Yeah. Where'd that come from? Is that a Jared Pope?
It's definitely not a Jared Pope deal. And I don't know who said it, but I'm not going to take credit for it.
Yeah. Okay. You've heard it before though. Okay, cool.
I've heard it before. It's not a Jared Popeism. I'll put it that way.
All right, cool. Awesome. So yeah, systems, processes, and procedures, that all those are huge in being able to scale. What else do you think has been really pivotal for your guys' success?
It's making some tough decisions. I think too often when CEOs and founders and startups, they think sometimes everybody that's there at the beginning is going to be there at the end, right? And that's ideal. That's an ideal state. And when you add on new employees, you add on certain things, and what we've often learned is those hard decisions to where you have to make the decision in order to scale, but you keep putting it off. Maybe it gets better, or well, maybe we can change here, maybe we can do this and make something, the square peg fit in the round hole. And so I think where we failed at was trying to make things work because of emotional ties. When the reality was, we knew it wasn't going to work, but we liked the person, we liked the individual, or we liked the partner, the vendor that we worked with, but we just realized, hey, we've outgrown that partner. And yes, they're an important part of our journey, and they always will be, but there often comes a time where you have to make tough decisions. And so from there, when you make those tough decisions and you got to act quickly. And so whether that's a hire slow, fire fast when you're dealing with people, or whether it's, hey, you're trying to help a vendor out that you partnered with long ago and you're still trying to stay with them, but it seems like you're the one pulling them along when your partner should really be the one lifting you up from that standpoint. So those are some of the kind of key points historically, and even we're dealing with today.
Interesting. I hear a lot of people, the seasoned CEOs that, that they hire slow, fire fast, peel the Band-Aid type thing. But a lot of them haven't really talked, or actually, I think you're one of the first that's really talked about aligning with those partners, with those vendors. I wonder if you could, maybe go into, tell me a little bit more, like what's maybe one example or experience that you've had that you went through with that?
Yeah, so we had an early vendor early on, and this was regarding our technology and what was needed. And they were a great partner with us at the time because they helped get us off the floor. They helped get us a little bit higher. And then all of a sudden we reached a point to where the capabilities that we needed we're getting
I
to a
see.
point that
Okay.
we needed faster capabilities. We needed faster production. We needed faster things happening. We needed more ingenuity. We needed more innovative aspects that needed to be added on.
Right.
And it just seemed like, well, they're kind of not stuck in their ways, but
Mm,
we just kept being like, okay, we're being slowed down. The rocket's taking off, but
yeah. Okay.
or like a hot air balloon. We're trying to lift off and we've gotten so high, but there's that one string that just, you got to clip,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so in whether that's bringing technology in-house, but still partnering with some people, or just, hey, we're going to switch our developers to a new development team because they have better capabilities and experience. And it's going to take too long to have the old original partner kind of bring people in and wait for them. And so sometimes those are the tough decisions you have to make as a CEO and say, hey, yes, it's business. And yes, there may be personal relationships involved, but
Yeah.
business is business and everything else is everything else. And so that's where,
Yeah.
at least with an example on our technology, that, look, we have to look at that all the time from there.
Sure. Well, it's interesting. You guys are scaling, you guys are putting in infrastructure to allow for that, hot air balloon, using your analogy, to take off, and you're being weighted down because they're not scaling with you. They're not able to expand. And so you had to look for other vendors to be able to handle and supply your needs,
That's right. That's
even
right.
though there's personal, it could, years and years of doing it. Yeah. Wow. That's, yeah. Um, Well, very cool. So, you kind of brought up the, whether it's people hire slow, fire fast type thing. I'd love to dive into a little bit more of, you know, you've obviously surrounded yourself with good people. I think you're up to what, 11 employees now, something like that.
Yeah, we'll be at 11. We have another one we're bringing in, so we'll be at 11. But that doesn't include all of the investigators that we have at WorkShield, which is we outsource that for various reasons from
Okay.
there. But we're at 11 today. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we were talking a little bit more that one of the keys to your success was your people, and you've been
mhm.
able to really kind of nail down how to find good people. I was wondering if you could, take some time and share with the audience what you do there, because I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. And this is a real testament to Jennifer, my co-founder, because she's been really driving a lot of the people side of our company. And when we just first started WorkShield, I mean, I was the salesperson, the client success, the
Yeah. All the
doing the
hats.
tech, wearing all the hats, right?
Yeah.
And so when you come in and you're adding people to the business, we started adding people thinking like, oh yeah, they're in sales, let's add them. Or, oh yeah, they know something about technology, let's add them to it. Or, hey,
Mm.
they know something about client success, let's bring them in.
So because of
And
their skill sets, that's what you were hiring for.
that's right. And so without really understanding, did their skill sets actually fit the role that we needed to?
Oh. Mm.
And is their makeup the right role for which we need? And so today we use a system called Culture Index, and
Mm.
to any company, whether large or small, I would recommend it. It's pretty amazing. And so, but it's based on on kind of your CI, what we call the Culture Index results, and everybody is born with these natural fundamental elements, and it just depends on which side of it you are. So let's take autonomy, right?
Yep.
A salesperson is going to be more autonomous than maybe a client success person. That doesn't mean a client success person can't go do something on their own. They
Mm-hmm.
just, once they have direction, they're really good at following it. Whether a salesperson is really, you need the autonomous that can start their own day, get it going. They
Right.
know what's
Right.
coming
It's
next
like
and
their
they need
own
to go.
business.
That's right. And so, and then the same way with there's these 6 elements: autonomy, social, conforming, detail. Then there's ingenuity, logic, and then what we call EU, which is like the size of your battery. Are you a AAA, or are you a double D battery that can run and you don't need to recharge all the time? And so there's all these different levels. And so what we found was within our organization, And it's funny because every time that we have somebody that doesn't fit the role or the CI to which we need for that role,
Right.
guess what happens?
What?
We've set them up for failure.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. If you
And
let them in. Okay. I thought
if we
you were,
let them in.
Yeah.
And so we made early decisions on without really following the protocol of, do they have the right skills? Do they have the right CI? But so that's kind of the base layer. But then outside of that,
Yeah.
there's really 3 elements. Are you hungry? Are you humble? And are you smart? Okay. And and everyone already knows this. So from there, but hungry, are you hungry because you want to go get it? You want to take that next step. You want to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
And that can be both internal and external.
Yeah.
Are you humble to know that it's not always about you? It's about the team. It's about the client. It's about the success of all of us. And are you smart? Not necessarily book smart, but are you people smart? And are you smart enough to know that, hey, you can read a room, you understand what's happening from there. And if you don't have all 3 of those, you're out. You're not going to work for our company. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So
no, that's fantastic. So when we look at hungry, humble, and smart, those are pretty much all the core values that kind of make up somebody who's going to do well in a social environment.
Yeah. Well, or even a non-social environment, right? It could be both. And so, but it comes down to kind of the core principles and the core values, as you say. It's, we have humble, if someone asks for help, are you going to be humble enough to say, I can help you with that? Are you hungry because are you the one that's going to leave early because you just want to get home early?
Right.
Or are you going to say, hey, what's the next step I can do so that I'm just that much further tomorrow before I go home?
Yeah.
And then are you smart enough to understand, like, hey, what's the room? What's reading the room?
Yeah,
what's the situation? Yeah. What's the situation you're in? How do we do this? I mean, if someone's stressed out and you go in and say, man, isn't life great? I got no stress in the world. You're not pretty smart.
Yeah.
Right.
So how, for the listeners out there, if you're a CEO of a $500,000 million company, or, maybe 10 million, whatever, you're up and coming and you hear something like this, like I think that's awesome. That you've identified that. How would I hone my skills? Like, what did you do to become good at recognizing in the interview process, whether or not somebody is, skill set, you can figure that out, right? CI, maybe, humble, hungry, smart. How do you know, how did you build the skill set to be able to determine that during the interview process?
Well, first we failed. So we
multiple times. We're entrepreneurs. That's what we do.
Yeah. And we learned. And sometimes what happened was we would interview somebody. If we're trying to hire for a position, we like the person we're interviewing, we think they're great. And then all of a sudden, we go back and do our process that we had in place, but we did it in reverse order. But now we're somewhat emotionally attached. We like the person. Oh no, I understand they're a little off, but they're going to fit, right?
Yeah.
And so we justified the mistake to the means when we should have justified the action to not make the mistake.
Wow.
Because the means is we have a better culture, we have a better platform, we have a better company, we have a better growth, we have a better scalability because we hired the right people versus what do we do? And so I think to any CEO out there that's saying, okay, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And we've seen this recently. We had someone who's looking for a position. He called the person, didn't send them our CI survey, called the person first, then sent them the CI. And before the CI results, man, I really like this person. It's gonna be awesome. This is great. I really think we need to look at him. And the results came back and we're like, they're not detail oriented. So you're hiring a task position that requires detail, and the CI results are saying they're not detail oriented. In fact, they're the least detail oriented. So what? Well, we really need, I'm like, no, we're done. And so I think sometimes people make decisions on their hearts because they're emotionally engaged without using the logic behind it. And so I think there's you just got to follow the process. And I know it sounds simple, control what you can't control and follow the process.
Well,
It's
and the fact that you even have a process, most companies, especially, under 10 million, do not have a hiring process. They are sitting down and they're 100%, emotionally making that decision. So I think that's fantastic that you guys have that. And you're using, CI, psychometrics, people call them different things, but you're sending them an assessment, behavioral assessment to determine some of these key characteristics that you're talking about, the autonomy, social conforming, all that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, think about it this way. If you have a coder, a developer, to where they want to just code, and you understand that the person who is developing the code, writing the code, they're also, do they want a lot of interruptions? Generally speaking, no. So if you hire the right person, but then you put them in a wrong environment, so let's say an open cubicle area,
right,
to where people walking by,
yeah,
hey, Joseph, what's going on? What's happening? And they stop by and talk, you're going to create frustration. Now you lost their train of thought when they really want a sign that says, don't talk to me, I'm coding.
right, right,
Right. And so that's the other part that is a variable in this process of, okay, if we know somebody likes to do what we call a conforming basis, so they're very patient, they're very task oriented to where they like to stay on one task, then you don't necessarily, if it isn't urgently important, don't go interrupt them. And so we have on our doors, we have literally a red and a green. Red means don't disturb. I'm deep in thought. Green means, hey, my door's shut, come on in. I welcome the interruption. Right.
That's
and
cool.
So it's a way for us to communicate to others to say, hey, I'm deep in thought, I'm in a project, I don't really need any interruptions. We're like me, I'm always green. Now, if I'm red, it's because like, hey, I really need like an hour to focus on some things.
Right. Right.
But those are different personalities. And those are the things we have to figure out to have a great culture.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. Just even that awareness alone and giving your team members the autonomy to make that decision and to be able to say, hey, listen, I am deep in thought. Because it's so true. I think somebody said that if you're working on a project and you're deep in thought, if you get interrupted, it sometimes can take like 10 or 15 minutes before you get back to the place that you were before you were interrupted.
Right. Right. That's right. Or think about it this way. You have two salespeople next to two client success people, and the client success are they're focused, but the salespeople are always, they're constantly changing.
Yeah.
That's not a great to have them all right forward together. So that's why even in our office, the sales individuals are on one part of the office. Customer client success is in another area, because oftentimes they're focused on the routine task and don't want to be interrupted. And that's okay. And that's also why we have a big open area to where people want to talk, they can hang out and chill out. It's an open invitation.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys have really been focusing on the systems and the processes. And I know we were talking before, you guys have really nailed down your sales process and how you're scaling the sales and marketing. What if we could dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying this year could be a hockey stick year for you guys, yeah?
Yes, sir. Sorry. Yeah, we can have a really big J curve this year. So we're really excited. But it's interesting. It's everything that I'm talking about today. It isn't because I just magically knew it, right? It's because our team as a whole have gone through the valley, right? We've gone through the failures and we've learned this. And so part of it is with the system and process. I can tell you today, through our process, we get a meeting and a demo with the client, we have a 58% close ratio, right? And then if we get 2 demos with the client, it goes up to about 75 to 78%. And then you get 3 demos, you're in the 90s.
Wow.
And so where we focus on, and we deal a lot with insurance related brokers, distribution partners, to where they're used to playing a lot of golf. expensive dinners.
Mm.
Well, what we've learned is golf and dinners don't mean anything
Mm.
at the end, other than high T&E budgets
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of cash burn. And so, or go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and when you say demos, you say what if I'm understanding you correctly, this is the first demo with this group, this potential client, and then if they have a second demo, maybe digging deeper into the software benefits, all that kind of stuff. So third demo with the same prospective clients, right? And each one of those, right. Okay, cool. And if you have three, you know, statistically, you guys have just been doing the measuring, and you know your close ratios. If you have three of them, you're going to get, it's 90% chance it's going to close.
That's right. And we can even come in looking over the past year alone and even categorize it based on size of company, and where it's less than 500 and greater than 500. Our sales cycle is anywhere between a month and a half to 4 months.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Love that visibility that you guys are creating.
So it's, and again, it helps us make decisions quicker, faster. What are we trying to do? Now, you'll ask any CEO, they want a smaller sales cycle, right? They want repeatable patterns. Now, we're B2B, we're not B2C. And right. So it's a little bit different. But that first meeting and demo or intro where we do a demo, generally it's with one of the key people that would end up using the system or knowing the system. What we know there is, you know, we see the signs and they say, hey, I really like this. I want to bring X, Y, and Z to another demo, because what they're doing is they want to validate their already internal decision. Hey, I think that we could use this. I think this is a good tool. I'm in, but now I just want confirmation. And so when that second demo occurs and they bring in one or two other decision makers, then it's like, okay, we get some more questions. Right. And by that point, they're like, hey, send us the T's and C's. Let's set up another demo for the other users that are going to have it.
Yeah, because the original person's in there selling it to the new decision makers for you.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
Well, and even the ones that we, you know, look, we've gotten off demos to where we'll literally walk out and be like, no, they're not going forward. And that's okay. It goes back to, you got to get through the no's to get to the yes.
Some will, okay. Some won't. So what? What kind of a company are you guys? Are you lead generation? Are you mainly salespeople making phone calls? Do you what kind of things are you doing to get leads?
You know, this is what I love. So we're all organic. No paid advertising. It's all LinkedIn. But,
oh wow, okay.
And we haven't really done any paid advertising. Now we'll probably do some in the near future. But we have such growth, and so it's LinkedIn. It's being that knowledge hub, that knowledge base, that go-to person to say, hey, what are the answers to these types of issues? But in addition to that, it's really about connections. And so we distribute through a broker distribution model. So we do go direct to clients, but we also work with consultants and brokers. So think of like your Plexus groups, Holmes Murphy, the big ones are like the Marsh McLennans and, you know, Aon, et cetera. We work with more regionalized, specific, focused to where we distribute through them. Why? Because they're already at the decision maker level. They're talking with the head of HR. They're talking with the head of risk. They're talking with the CFO, the CEO. And so it's almost a one-to-many sale to where the broker aligns it. And then all we tell them, and this was part of our learning process, we don't need them to sell our service and product and technology. All we need them to do is get us a 20-minute meeting. Right. And that's it.
Yeah.
And so that's why part of our training, we tell the consultants and brokers, it's pretty simple. Ask your client this. If I could show you something to take all the drama off your plate and not only help your culture become better, give you more productive time, would that be something you'd be interested in? Or do you like handling all the drama yourself?
Yeah.
and they'll always say, tell me more. Okay, great. Let me set up 20 minutes. There's a company called WorkShield. They're a lot like TNT. They love drama and they'll take it off your plate.
Nice.
Let me set up a 20-minute phone call between y'all and you can learn more about it. And then that's it. And that whole process took less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then are they, do they get some kind of a commission then for referring the business?
If they want a commission, there definitely is one there
Yeah.
from that standpoint.
Cool.
Some people with the new rules with broker distribution
Yeah.
commissions, they want to forego it from
Okay.
there, which we're fine with that. But it's a fun model. But what's been even exciting is we're now having more companies come on to our website, reach out to us directly and say,
Right.
hey, can I have a demo? We're looking
Oh,
for a new
wow.
solution. And so we're gaining more clients that way.
Yeah.
But it all came from organic marketing via LinkedIn.
Got it. Love it. Wow. That's fantastic, man. There's a lot of companies are B2B struggle sometimes with how to leverage LinkedIn specifically to, generate leads and new business.
I'm not saying I know the right way or the wrong way. We have a great PR
It
PR
works.
team, marketing
Yeah.
team that we work with. And
Yeah. Totally.
I think it comes down to being authentic. I think specifically in our space, we deal with culture, harassment, discrimination. And you think about over the last 4 years, we've had the Me Too movement, Harvey Weinstein, then we had BLM, George Floyd, COVID, political landscape, Apple II, the walkout at Google, and then all of a sudden you got return to work, vaccination status, and now you got all these new cases with Roe v. Wade. And so
Right.
you have this energy, emotionally charged society.
Sure.
And you had some companies out there saying one way or the other. And we approached it from an inclusive standpoint that said, hey, no matter which way you think, there's always a place for you to be heard. Right? Because the moment you exclude the other side, you're now no longer an inclusive company. You're now no longer an inclusive culture. And so we have to have those authentic conversations and the ability to be out there. And I think you'll see in our message on LinkedIn is we're pretty authentic. We're authentic in our inclusiveness. We're authentic in our purpose. We're authentic in our integrity. We're authentic in the way in which we approach things to allow people a psychologically safe space to raise their voice. And that's key.
Yeah, that is key, especially in today's day and age. When people are used to speaking up and getting kind of bashed, like you said. So awesome. Well, we've talked about some just amazing stuff so far. Sales and marketing, you guys are doing some great things there. We've talked about hiring, firing. We've talked about vendors and scalability, growth, systems. We talked about a lot. Is there anything else, Jared, that comes to mind when you kind of, if you were to put your finger on the key to your guys' success so far?
Well, I would have two things. One, surround yourself with great people.
Love it.
And your pathway is it's never a straight line. It's a jagged curve sometimes. There's valleys and there's peaks, but if you surround yourself with people that truly believe in your mission, that truly believe in what you're doing, you'll end up in a really good space. It doesn't mean there's not going to be mistakes made. It doesn't mean lessons won't be learned, but it means that you have that good support network. And so from day one all the way to today, we have a really good team around us. And we've had a great team at different points of time that got us to certain levels. And so, and I would say even today, Jen and I and Travis, who's also on our founding team, we were talking and we just said, hey, we are in such a good spot that we have literally a really great team about where we are. And we have the right people in place. We have the right systems in place. Yes, there's improvement that we can continually make. We have the right investors. We have the right board. We have the right team members that allow you to understand they're here not to pull you down, but to here to say, hey, here's some guidance, here's some help, here's where my experiences
Opportunities
had this.
versus, yeah.
Right. And I think what's even more important is recently, you know, I even went to my board and said, I need to do a self-assessment on myself. Right. And said, here are the things that I've done well. Here are the things that I can improve on. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And so,
Wow.
but it's having the ability to have that conversation and know they support you through that process to when they can come back. And that's when you know you have a great team around you.
Fantastic. Well, and just real quick, I don't know if you're comfortable, sharing your size or anything, but typically, 11 employees, somebody's, typically around almost the 5 million range, or, something in that range. And you guys have a board already. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's, I've learned a lot from my past.
Right
and I've failed a lot, or I've been
Dude,
successful at failing sometimes.
I love the humbleness coming out of you. The humility is awesome.
And so when we started the company, Jen and I funded the company for a long time at the beginning. And then when we started raising money, I knew we needed a board that wasn't just a token board. It wasn't a board that was going to show up, okay, whatever, see you later. It was really what we called an active board. And
yeah,
there's a guy named Jim Watt. He's on our board. And he really drilled this down into me, and particularly was, hey, you have to have an active, engaged board if you're going to succeed. And he wasn't going to join if it was just going to be, oh, you show up every month or every quarter, okay,
yeah,
great, and then they put it down.
Checking the
box to where Jim and I have a call every 2 weeks. And it's a check-in, it's 15 minutes. Here's the good news, here are the bad news. We usually start with the bad news first. Although it seems to be more good news, because one of the other things he taught me was good news can wait, bad news you got to say right away. And so it's having that board there early on to say, hey, you've been through this stuff before, you've exited out of companies before, help us understand better, more than what we know already, so that when we can be scalable, we can be successful. When that exit does occur, we're all looking back going, okay, we got everything in place.
We did it right. Yeah,
we
man, that's awesome. Fantastic. Well, you've made some very smart moves. I think you're probably well, I'm sure there's a lot out there, but definitely to have a board that young and from that early on is just priceless, and such a smart move. So congrats on that. Hey, Jared, this has been an awesome show. You've just graciously divulged so much awesome information. If there was one piece of information, one piece of advice that you had to go back and give the younger CEO version of yourself, just one, what would that be?
Trust your gut.
Love it, man.
There's so many times where I look back and I didn't trust my gut, and I should have made that decision based on what my gut was telling me versus what my emotions were telling me from there. And it just, not only just in WorkShield, but just in life in general. And the best way I can analyze this is, I don't know if you golf. And so, okay, so you think about me too, every now and then. So with the kids. And so, but you think about Jordan Spieth. Everybody was kind of figuring out when he putt and he looks at the hole, right? Now he's changed it here in a little bit, but people were often asking, like, why did he do that? Well, a friend of mine who I was playing golf with, his name was Mitchell Andrews. He's up in Chicago, and we were out playing, and I was having some putting problems. And he goes, Jared, you're not trusting your gut. Just look at the hole. And so I looked at the hole, and we're about 8 feet away, right? It's not an easy putt. And he goes, just look at the hole and look at the ball, look at the hole, and your mind will tell you and your gut will tell you everything you need to know. And just putt it. And so I looked at it, looked at the ball, looked at the hole, I putted it, it went in.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, now do it again. Did it again, it went in again. And so ever since then, when I have the ability to go play golf, when I putt, I look at the hole and I trust my gut, because my gut will tell me 9 times out of 10 how hard to hit it, what line to hit it. And that's where kind of the analogy comes in, to where when you think about what's happening in business, look at the hole, look at the line, look at your goal, and trust your gut on what putt you need to make. What line do you need to take? What angle do you need to come in on? How fast do you need to do it? Or
Yeah,
how
I love
slow
that.
does the putt? And if you trust that gut, I wish I would have told myself 20 years ago. That would have been awesome.
Wow. What a great piece of information. And it's so true, because so many times, I don't know about you, but I've found myself like, I'll have that gut feeling, like my gut will tell me what to do, right? And then I'll logically talk myself out of that,
Yeah.
and it ends up failing. And it sounds like that's what you're saying.
It happens, and that doesn't mean it's not going to happen again, because
Right.
the brain is a powerful
Absolutely.
machine, and so sometimes we trust the logic we tell ourselves versus the gut reaction that we have internally. But it's something that's, you just got to practice it every day.
Love it, man. Increasing that awareness, raising our conscious levels. Yeah, that's very cool. Awesome. Well, Jared, how can people get a hold of you? Obviously, you have a ton of knowledge. How can people get a hold of you if they have any follow-up questions, or they would like to potentially look at utilizing WorkShield for their business?
It's easy. You go to workshield.com, www.workshield.com, or shoot an email over at hello@workshield.com, and we'd love to get in contact with you, or you can even sign up directly from the website as well. So
Awesome. And I think it speaks volumes too, to have, the CEO on and really hearing that you come from such integrity and such values. That means a lot. And if I was a potential customer, knowing that, hey, you know what, that's the culture and the values that's going to be, I'm going to be taken care of that way as well. So I think that's great. Jared, thanks for being on the show. And thank you to the audience for tuning into the podcast. Please hit like and subscribe and help us spread the word about the show and what we're doing here. This is Patrick Rogers with the Exitable Business Podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.
thank you.